What's going on, everyone? So a little bit of a different video today. Obviously we have a whiteboard with a poorly drawn U-Haul. This also may show backwards on the video. I'm sorry. I don't know how to film. But um, someone asked me in my last video about using the U-Hauls towards their startup. And if you don't know, that's how I started my business. Is the first year and a half I used U-Hauls to do the junk removal. Now, there were some pros to it, there were some cons to it. At the end of the day, I'm thankful I did it because it's what got me started and it's what kind of pushed me to realize, what works and what doesn't. And at the end of the day, I'm here now where I am because of it. Because back then I wouldn't have gone out and bought a truck. I wouldn't have gotten a box truck or anything like that. Like I never saw myself having a pickup truck and a trailer because I hated the fact that you're so long and your tight spaces are hard to get into, and now you're reliable for two different vehicles. I always hated that idea. But here we are. So I want to talk about pros and cons really quick when it comes to having a startup. I apologize for the glare right here, but if I turn off a light, you won't see anything. So you're just going to have to deal with it for a little bit. But going over the pros of the U-Haul, cost effective for startup. Now, that may seem kind of hard to believe for some of you, but truthfully, at the end of the day, unless you're doing multiple jobs a day, 7 days a week, the rental trucks is actually quite cost effective. And the reason being is, and the biggest one is the fact that when you don't have a job, you're not paying for a truck. You're not paying for insurance. Let's say 3 days, and this, remember, this is a startup. So let's say you have one job a week, or maybe you even do this part time. That'd be even better. But let's say you don't have a job for 3 days, right? Let's say your average commercial and auto insurance bill is $350, right? It's probably on the lower end for some of you. $350 for your commercial auto insurance. Now, let's say that whatever vehicle you have, let's just say it's not paid out in full. Maybe you finance it, whether it's a box truck, a junk truck, or a truck that you're financing through payments, a trailer you probably bought. So let's say everything else you're financing, let's call your payment, we'll just go on the low end and say your payment's $300 a month, which is a lot lower than most. Right off the back, you're paying about $600 a month for commercial auto insurance and your car payments. Now, divide that up into every single day. Now you're looking at $20 a day, right? And that's just to have your vehicles. It doesn't include maintenance, it doesn't include gas, nothing of the sorts. That's just $20 a day. Now, if I don't have a job for those 3 days, that's $60 I would otherwise be paying to have my normal vehicles. So that to me is kind of where this became a cost-effective thing. Because my first year and a half, I was working part-time at the moving company still before I fully ventured into this full-time, and I wasn't getting jobs every day. First of all, I was only working part-time, but secondly, even in those days I had off from the movie company, I didn't have a job every day. So that would have been a lot of accumulative, money just going to waste if I didn't have this as an option. So for me, that's probably one of the biggest pros of it all. The next thing up is there's no maintenance. When you're renting a truck, you're only responsible for it at that time. And depending on what happens to the truck engine wise or tire blows out, for the most part, you're probably not going to be reliable for it. And then, third, you have no commercial insurance. Depending on what state you're in, your insurance probably sucks. If you're in Florida, California, they probably suck. And they're expensive. And even when you get into an accident, they probably won't cover half your stuff anyways. Especially in Florida because it's a no-fault state. But commercial insurance is not cheap. The bigger you are, the more guys you have working for you, the more vehicles you have, the more expensive it goes. So with the U-Hauls, you have an option to get insurance. Now, I'm a paranoid, more self-conscious person, so I always got the insurance, even when I was doing side jobs. And for me, a 10-foot truck and a pickup truck and a cargo van were $10 for the day for insurance, and anything above that was $14. And that covered pretty much anything happening to the truck with a $150 deductible. So if someone hit you, if you hit a clearance, if you hit a pole, if you hit someone else, they're covering the costs once you pay your deductible 150, which is chump change if you think about damages to trucks. I don't know how familiar you are with box trucks, but if you hit a tree limb this thick, it will rip off a corner of your truck. I promise you. I've seen it happen umpteen times with the moving companies. Those things get destroyed over the littlest things. And guess what? It costs thousands of dollars to fix a roof repair like that properly. So that was always a plus. Assortment of vehicles. Most U-Haul locations, some vary a little bit, but for the most part, you have your cargo van, your pickup truck, which has an 8-foot bed, by the way. You have a 10-foot truck, a 14, 15, or 17-foot. They kind of vary by location. You have a 20-foot and a 26-foot truck. Not to mention, you also they have cargo trailers that I believe can pretty much hold the contents of the size of a queen size bed. And it's like, I don't know, 5 feet wide or something. It's like a 5 by 6 foot trailer. Enclosed. And then they have open end trailers as well. Plus they have hitches you can rent. You can rent dollies and 4-wheelers and appliance dollies. You can rent blankets. Anything that you don't have already, you can rent. Does it cost money? Yes. Is it a lot of money? Not really. It would be cost effective for you to go buy your own dolly, but this is an option. Maybe you live somewhere where you can't have all these equipment laying around. This is an option to really just have like no responsibilities as far as tools and equipment. Next up, you have weight capacity. Now this applies to me directly. My trailer is a single axle and I have a mid-sized truck, so I can't really pull more than about 4,000 pounds, which makes things difficult, especially when you're hauling heavier items or construction debris, especially. So having the weight capacity on the larger trucks, one, you can overload it. One rental day is not going to do anything. They're expecting it anyways. It's not fair thinking, but it's the truth. You can overload these things. It's not going to kill them. Two, you can throw pretty much anything you want in that truck. You don't have to worry about like successive damage. As long as you sweep it out at the end of the day and you didn't put a hole in the side, they don't give a crap. What are you doing, Bubs? Get out of my picture. Cat's trying to butt in. So that's kind of a helpful thing to keep in mind. Next up, worldwide locations. Now, when I say worldwide, I mean countrywide. They're all over the place. Every state pretty much has them. I think there's only one state in the U.S. that doesn't have U-Hauls, and I don't remember what it is. But for the most part, every place has it. The more populated you are, the more chance you have them all over the place. I was grateful enough that I have one literally 0.6 miles down the road from me, and I could walk there in less than 8 minutes and go pick up the truck instead of leaving my car on the side of the road all day. So they're pretty much everywhere. And that also comes in handy too when, like, I live in Boynton Beach, but say I have a job in Boca, which is 2 cities over from me. And then I go to do an estimate and they're like, great, can you do it right now? And I can go on my phone and try to look it up. And there's a U-Haul in Boca. Cool, I can save money on gas. I can go to the dump in Delray. It all works out. Next up, mobile app makes it easy. They came out with the mobile app a few years ago. It's gone progressively better. Still has some bugs and some ticks in it. But overall, it makes things very efficient. You can go online and you can reserve your truck ahead of time, the size you want, how long you expect to have it. You get a fixated estimate of your costs. You can do the check-in over your phone, so when you get to the location, you just go to the side counter, say, hey, I'm here to pick up the keys for so-and-so, show them the phone, they give you your keys, you walk out. If you've never been to a U-Haul, sometimes they can get lines of like 5-6 people, and each person can take like 5 to 10 minutes. So you can easily be sitting there for 15, 20, 30 minutes, which if you're on a time crunch to get to a job, that's a big deal. It also helps when you do checkouts. So let's say the U-Haul closes at 6 o'clock and you're not getting off your job until 7 or 8. You can go there and drop off the truck and you can check it in through your phone, taking the pictures of everything, adding in your mileage and your gas and all that. So you don't have to worry about strict hours. So overall, those are the bulk of the pros that I at least experienced while I was doing the U-Hauls. So now for the cons. There are some cons, not going to deny it. Time. Time is a big one. Time for me was, as mentioned, let's say I go to Boca to do an estimate. I live in Boynton. I'm going there in my car, so I'm not going to have all my equipment with me. And they're like, great, can you do this at 12 o'clock today? I have to be able to go on and check to see, okay, do they have a truck available? Am I going to be able to get back here by 12? Am I going to be able to get back to the location by the time they close to drop it off? It's a lot of back and forth. You have to keep in mind that you have to, go home and get your equipment, get your materials, come back. It's a lot of back and forth because you don't already have this stuff with you prepared. So time kind of plays a role. Again, as mentioned, if you get there and there's a line, you may be sitting there for a few minutes, and it's gonna affect you, for your whole day realistically. Especially if you're in a high populated area of traffic, that's hit or miss right there. Going with time availability. I always was lucky enough that I had some times when I booked jobs same day, and I was lucky enough that there was something available, even if it wasn't the size I necessarily wanted. I had something to go there with, and for me, that's all that mattered because that means I was able to get the job done. But sometimes, unless you're able to book in advance, they book out pretty quick. U-Haul is a large company, and everyone uses them for moves and or other services like junk removal. But let's say you wanted to get a 15-foot truck, and you're finding out about a job last minute at night the day before, and you go on and there's nothing more available, and the next location is 9 miles away. Well, that's fine, but that's also going to charge you $18 in mileage plus the gas to go in the back, and we'll talk about that in a second. Or let's say that nothing's available because it's a popular day for moving. It kind of screws you over a little bit, and it happens a lot. So you really have to either be okay with getting the next size up or the next size down, or be prepared to have to potentially turn down a job because you don't have a truck available. Next up, short-term profit loss. Now I say short-term because referring back to our pros, it's cost-effective for startups if you don't have the funds to go out and buy a truck, or you're not in a situation to have one available. But it does take away from smaller jobs. So if you're going to do a minimum pickup, let's say you're going to pick up a couch and your minimum pickup's like $85. Now, of course you can get a pickup truck from them, which is their cheapest option. But even then, unless it's local, you're probably going to be spending $30 to $50 for the truck depending on mileage and gas. And so right then and there, you already cut down to $35. Now, depending on your area and your disposal fees, disposal here has a $10 minimum charge no matter what you bring. So right off the back, I would only be pulling away about $25 in profit, which for, let's say, an hour-long job altogether from start to finish, plus driving out there, and then going to get the truck, going home to get my equipment, that could easily be a 3-4 hour job altogether, and you're only getting a $25 profit from it. So that's something you kind of have to keep in mind. But with that being said, the U-Hauls come in a lot of different sizes, and the prices only change in 3 different brackets. So you can get a bigger truck, handle more, do more at once, and pull away with the same amount of costs, which at the end of the day is going to help with your profit on the bigger jobs. But if you're a startup, you're likely probably going to be doing a lot more smaller jobs. So that's something that's going to cut into your profits. Exposure loss. This was something that is what drove me to get a truck for a while. Was you're driving around in a U-Haul. You're sponsoring U-Haul. People see you in a U-Haul. I had magnets on the side of the door just so when I go to buildings or someone drove up next to me at an intersection, people knew who I was. But that's a small sign compared to a whole truck. So you're losing exposure, you're losing marketing, advertising. No one knows who you are when you're on the road. That's a huge hit to your public exposure. Next up, less professional. Truth of the matter is you look less professional showing up in a U-Haul than you would your own truck, whether it's a pickup truck, a truck and trailer, a junk truck, whatever. You're showing up in a rental truck, people aren't going to see you as a legitimate business. I've never had anyone question why I had a U-Haul. versus like an actual truck. But I've had people say, like, I go to pull out my binder and I have all this stuff. I have my insurance thing on the first page, just proving I'm a legitimate company. And people are like, oh wow, you're like actually legit. And I'm like, yeah, I just have a rental truck. And I've explained to some customers that, not like, I've never got anyone snotty or anything, but I've explained to people, like, yeah, I'm a startup. I've been doing it for about a year. I do it part time because I work as a mover the other part time. And, the U-Haul is just a way for me to keep my expenses down so I can continue to reinvest in myself. And of the people I've told that to, a lot of them were very respectful about it. So, less professional, but you gotta do what you gotta do sometimes to get by. Next up, total loss if job is canceled. I've only had this happen once for a junk removal. I've had it happen twice for a side job for moving, but only once as a junk removal. It was a guy that we spent weeks planning this. I missed one phone call from him and didn't get his voicemail, annoyingly. And he ended up calling out another guy for an estimate. I called him back like 3 days later, and he's like, "Oh, I booked up this other guy, but I called you first. Screw him. I'll go with you." So I got the U-Haul truck. I went to get the guy that helps me because it was on a third floor and it was big stuff. I get there, they wouldn't let me in the gate. I'm trying to call the guy, he's not answering. Never heard from him again. So when you rent a U-Haul, you have to pay for it for the day. So no matter what, I was already paying for that truck. I paid my helper a few bucks for wasting his time. So that's not something you can just, crap, the job didn't go through, you could go back home. No, like, I have a rental truck for the day. So right off the bat, you lost money. Poor MPG. Think about your truck. I mean, it's probably not as bad when you consider a junk truck, or if you have a box truck, your miles per gallon is probably somewhat similar. I would range most trucks like that to be between 8 and 15 miles on the high end for a mile per gallon, whether you're empty or full. For your truck and trailer, I mean, when my trailer is full, I'm probably getting like 8 to 9 miles a gallon. When I'm empty with just my truck, I get like 15 to 20. But with these trucks, unless you have the cargo van or the pickup truck, you're probably getting decent mileage. Other than that, though, all the trucks you get between 6 and 14 miles a gallon. And when you're heavy, you're probably getting closer to 6 to 8. So keep that in mind when you're driving to these jobs. Unless you're really local, you're going to be burning through gas. And last but not least, I talked about this a little bit in the time, but it's loading and unloading material. Not a big deal, but depending on how much stuff you have, it can be a little bit of a problem, especially if you live in an apartment building. Every time you get that truck, nothing in it is yours. You're not really allowed to keep stuff in it. So every time you go in, you have to get all of your material, you have to bring it down, you have to put it in the truck, set everything up, you have to make sure you have all your card readers, your invoice papers, whatever you bring with you, you have to make sure you have everything. Because once you leave, you're not going to have that normal stock of inventory. So if you forget something, you're kind of screwed. So not a real big deal, but something to consider. So for me, those are the pros and cons of U-Haul. At least speaking in terms of a startup. Do I think it was worth it for a startup? I would say yes. At the end of the day, it got me where I needed to go. It got the job done. Were there cons to it? Absolutely. But were there pros to it when it comes to completion of service? Absolutely. So I would say if you have them available to you, do it. If you don't and they're very scarce, look into other options. Real quick with pricing, it's going to vary a little bit depending on your location. But for the bulk of South Florida that I've been to, a cargo van and a pickup truck is $10 for rental, $10 optional insurance, and it's 69 cents a mile. And then your 10-foot, 14, 15, and 17 foots your 10-foot is $19.99, and the insurance is, it's either 10 or 14. I don't remember which one it switches to, but your mileage does increase to 99 cents. And then your 14, 15, 17, 20, and 26 are $29.95 or $39.95 for the bigger ones. Insurance is all $14, and the mileage is 99 cents to $1.19. So those are the general coverages. Again, I would always recommend getting the insurance. It's a small price to pay for what could possibly happen. But that is all I have on U-Hauls. I've done it a few times. I'm a little bit well versed with it. And at the end of the day, it got me to where I am. So I have no regrets about doing it. So hopefully, if any of you are starting up, the guy in the last video, Josh, asked me to make this video. So here is 21 minutes of U-Haul talk. I hope this helps anyone that is starting up and can't afford a truck and is looking for another option. Obviously, you don't have to use U-Hauls. You can use Penske, you can use Budget, whatever else you have in your area. Prices may alter a little bit and how they charge may alter a little bit. I'm only going off of U-Haul because this is what I'm most familiar with, but the core concept should all be the same. So hopefully this helps you guys.